what do we always say? It wouldn't be a show without technical difficulties.
100%.
Well, let me start here. Remember when I said a few weeks ago, I've been saying this over, I've been hammering this over and over and over. When I said the first restaurant that texted me in Cazenovia, I will be at the front of the line.
Yep.
So this morning, I'm going to practice what I preach. This morning, I got a text from Dave's Diner, who we've talked about on this show, about how they're hustling their faces off. So there it is. Dave's Diner, the lobster truck, today, noon to 3. Pre-order until sold out. So I don't know how he did it. I'm actually going to ask him. I'm going to ask him here shortly what he decided to do, but he did it. So I'm embarrassed to say that I'm not in line at noon. My lovely wife is in line right now, waiting for some lobster rolls. But I got the text. We're getting some lobster rolls for lunch. Well done. He listened. I don't know if it was our advice, but this is the way the new economy is going to be. It's the people that can get the least amount of friction to get people in the door to buy your stuff. Those are the people that are going to win. So well done, Billy. Well done, Dave's Diner. Siobhan just texted me and said there's already a line around the corner. So it is working. Well done.
Phenomenal. That makes me so happy.
Yep. And it's, we were just talking about it this morning. It's once you build that database of customers, especially on a texting platform, I mean, we're seeing 90% open rates on a text platform. And it's not just buy my stuff and order. It's here's what's happening. Here's how I make my lobster rolls. Here's how I make my homemade soup. Here's what's going on in our community. It's texting. People don't think of it this way. Texting, all it is, it's another social media platform, and could be your most powerful e-commerce tool if done well. So again, kudos to those guys. They're adapting, they're evolving, and they're pivoting as quickly as they can. So good on them.
Well, and I think that's the crazy part to me about all this is that like it's the same thing every time. Like email was fucking awesome, and then like people realized that like, oh, that's a channel to sell stuff. And then like social media was awesome, and then people realized like, oh, that's a channel to sell stuff. And now it's like, oh man, texting is about how we communicate. Oh wait, it's also a channel to sell stuff. Like it's just wild to me. Everyone like thinks that there's these just crazy revolutionary ideas, and it's like, no, like we literally just keep repeating ourselves on all this, and then actually just pay attention and listen, and people think you're a genius.
That's it. Luigi, Beth Ann, David. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. Excuse me. Man, I'm out of practice. You lose 1 week, I'm out of practice. Beth Ann says, hey, always good to see you. Awesome. So yeah, that's the story I want to start with. Is just another success story of people doing it the right way, and you're seeing it with that line around the corner. So it's awesome. But let's get into the meat of it. Let's argue about French fries for a minute. So what is your opinion, and where are you getting opinions from?
So listen, there's a girl in Syracuse. I should say the greater Syracuse area. Incredibly talented, but being a French fry aficionado is clearly at the top of that list. And no disrespect to the people at the Foggy Goggle. I'm sure they're lovely humans. But the fact that you so clearly and quickly declared them like undisputed champion, I'll be honest, it ruffled some feathers.
So I need people to back me up here. I know Beth Ann's been there. Jess Novak, great to see you in the chat. I'm loving what you are doing on Twitch right now. You and Anthony streamed together I think it was last Sunday night. You guys just ripped together. So congratulations on your newfound success as well. There is no dispute. The Foggy Goggle has the best fries in Central New York, and I'd put Zeb's up there in North Syracuse in Mattydale, up near the airport. I'd put them close, but you just can't beat it, man. I don't see, and I know who you're talking about. I'd love to see some other options and opinions, you know, because there could be worse things than trying French fries in and around Central New York.
There's been talk of a potential revolving show around said topic. So when said show hits Greater Casanova area, I think you'll be in a phone call.
All right. The other one I would put in there is Valentine's Pizzeria in Skaneateles. Their waffle fries are perfectly seasoned and crispy every time. So if that person is listening, both either now or in the future, I would have to put that one on the list as well.
Duly noted. Just wanted to get that on the record first today.
No, I appreciate that. No, French fries on the record is always a good idea. So you and I haven't talked. I missed last week. I had a little bit of a COVID scare. So I actually went through it. I woke up last Friday morning and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. So Siobhan said, you know, you're going to get tested, and I can unequivocally tell you, Sarah, thanks for joining. I can unequivocally tell you that it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever gone through, the actual test. So I wasn't joking. The woman came out fully gowned, and she took this swab. I'm not kidding. It was 6 inches long, and she comes up to the window, rolls it down. I look like death warmed over, and she goes, in advance, she goes, I'm sorry. She goes, please put your head back. And so I put my head back, and she inserted it into my nostril, and she just kept going and going. And I had no idea how deep your nasal cavity is. So Siobhan goes, what's that?
Did it touch your brain? It looks like it touches your brain.
It does.
Sweet.
It tickles your brain for 20 seconds is the way they describe it. Ooh. And Siobhan goes, it was a good 20 seconds. I'm like, how come you didn't tell me that before we did that? She goes, you wouldn't have done it. I go, you're exactly right. I was tearing up, and my nose was wicked sore for about an hour. I couldn't stop crying afterwards with it, just the tears, just the natural reaction. But so for anybody that's gone through it, I sympathize with you, but it wasn't for me. It was about the people around me and just ruling out that I was negative. I got my test results on Wednesday that I'm negative. So good peace of mind, but holy smokes, that was not a lot of fun.
Just glad you came out the other side.
Ed Judson, I appreciate you, man. You're always here. Good thing. So it's been 2 weeks. What's going on with you? What's the most exciting thing you're working on, or the new thing that you're working on?
I think the biggest thing for us has just been kind of getting everybody, you know, at this point, I think everybody just kind of knows, if not where they're at, where they're going to be. So it's just been kind of trying to like stagger everybody and getting everybody onboarded and kind of up and running with their new plans and getting going. We have a launch call right after the show today with a new client I'm very excited about. Getting stuff rekindled with an old one that we get to share. I'm excited about that. I don't know. It seems like, I don't want to jinx it, but it just seems like okay, like we're here. Like, what are we gonna do? You know, and the people that have been doing stuff and investing that time in it, we're in a good spot. But for me, that's just been the most fun, and trying to figure out, we're hitting a ramp up time, which is traditionally a ramp down time when everyone's taking vacations and they don't want to talk to me about anything for July and August. So just trying to figure out what that dynamic is going to be. That's going to be big, but for the most part, it's just like, all right, we're out of excuses, back to real life. Like, let's go, baby.
I'm not going to get political on this. This is not what this show is about. But as we're seeing cases rise in other states, and I'm not convinced that we're not going to see it here. I think we will, just based on opening and people just not, you know, doing the distancing and wearing masks. And I know that's become a whole thing. But my question to you is, how much, just your general person that you counsel and you consult for, how much of their business should, I mean, permanently, not even short term, but long term, how much of their business should permanently pivot towards a non-contact, a less friction, text-based, web-based, direct-to-consumer? How much of that should people actually pivot? Because we don't know when this is going to end, if it's going to end. It could be, I've heard 6 months, I've heard 8 months, I've heard 2 years, I've heard everything in between. What would you tell people for that kind of advice?
It's going to vary business to business and industry to industry, obviously. But I think a lot of them can and a lot of them should think about making these, kind of semi permanent changes.
Yep.
Because what we've kind of seen, especially the people that really, paid attention to their audience and what was going on and did innovate and change things, a lot of them got to a point where, they matched last year's revenue and even exceeded it in some cases. So there's kind of this like, holy shit, we can make as much or more money by doing less of what we used to do,
Yep.
but in turn doing more of like new stuff. So, I mean, that's kind of the conversation we have now, like where everybody, like if I hear the get back to normal one more time, my head's going to explode. But, as we start to get back to normal, it's like, should we?
Right.
Like if your takeout and delivery business has exceeded what takeout, delivery, and dine-in business used to be, and dine-in business is your highest overhead and your highest labor cost, does it make sense to do that?
Right.
And part of it is you're going to have to see how people's behavior changes as things do start to kind of shift back, and maybe that means that there's less takeout, less delivery happening. So you have to pay attention and you have to watch that. But those have been big conversations that we've been having the last, really last week and a half, 2 weeks especially. We're like, should we go back?
Right.
We really need those 6 tables in the dining room. Is there something else we could do there instead? So it's weird. Like there's obviously no blanket answer for everybody, but it's been a lot of fun to be able to have those conversations with people where it's like, for the longest time, there was just this desire and this just waiting to get back to normal. And you're hitting this point, I think, where it's just like a lot of people, there's like a small light bulb going off where like maybe I don't have to.
Yep. I'll give you a perfect example. I coach a real estate client here in Syracuse, just a one-off thing, a friend of a friend. And I'm really interested in that culture because the real estate market has not slowed up here at all. If anything, it's accelerated. And I pressed him on that point this week. I said, why is that? Why has the real estate market accelerated? And his answer was very interesting. He said, because people want to get out of the cities. People realize that if this happens again, they want to get out and they want to be able to literally socially spread. He got, I think he said 2 or 3 inbound calls for some of his listings from New York City. Just people that want to get out. They want to have an option to get out. And for what a house cost in, the average cost probably in Casanova is probably $250,000, $300,000, or, another desirable town like Skaneateles. Just the influx of people coming out of the city is just becoming unbelievable. He's getting calls from like Boston and places like that, 6 hours away. So I said, okay, how can we pivot potentially? We always talk about 80-20. Don't mess with the 80% that pays your bills, but always experiment, always try that other stuff, whether it be with your social and digital marketing, your personal branding, your business, whatever it is, always experiment with that 20%. I said, so this week, how can we take that 20% and deploy it against that attention? And I said, what if we ran a simple Facebook ad in and around Manhattan that said, here's my listing upstate New York. I think he had it in I think it was like Chittenango or North Chittenango. Like I'm close to the water up in Oneida Lake. I said, what if we ran a $20 Facebook ad down to Manhattan and said, look at what you can have for $199,000 upstate. They'll find that mortgage payment in their couch cushions. What is that? $1,800 a month? It's probably 1/3 of what they're paying for a loft in Manhattan right now. And sure enough, he's starting to get inbound. Like you always say, guess what? It works. So he's deploying that attention that he's already getting. How many real estate agents in central New York have thought about marketing to New York City, marketing to Pittsburgh, marketing to Philadelphia, marketing to Boston? Not everybody needs to be in your backyard to become a customer. And I think that's one of the things that's resonating with me through all this is there are no borders. I'm a perfect example. I have 3 clients in New York State. I work with Nova Scotia and Australia and San Diego and Florida, and who cares? If your business calls for a product or a service that can be shipped direct to consumer and or a service direct to consumer, you need to start thinking bigger.
100. And like, that's the other thing. I was like, people just don't know that that's possible or that that potential exists. People don't know that for a couple, hours on Google or YouTube or hiring KBL, whatever, live your life. For $50, you could put that listing in front of people in New York City that are actively shopping for houses right now. Straight up. And then heaven forbid you have some good content like of the property on the water in upstate, like, hey, what if this was home? You know what, honey, I never thought of that. Boom, sale. But you're right. The thing is, people just don't think. I think it's not 80-20, it's 99 in 1. They want to try anything new. They want to click the button when they post their listing on the website that automatically pushes it to Facebook and the MLS and all that kind of stuff. And then, oh, my marketing's done. Because that's the other thing. The people at these big real estate companies that are supposed to be looking out for them, they're not doing it. They think having ridiculously nice photos of $1 million houses in Buffalo getting posted to the southern tier of New York is marketing. Huh?
It is. It's not good marketing. It is marketing.
But it's just it's like so many people will do it just to check the box and then say they're done. And it's weird. Like, as we've been having deeper and deeper conversations with a lot of people, it comes clearer and clearer that we have such a void of just like understanding and like real strategy built around marketing at every level. Like, people will talk to us like enough about our stuff where like all of our stuff is so results based and so results focused. And so many people come like, how do we drive engagement? How do we drive reach? How do we drive likes? I'm like, you don't care about those things. You want 1,000 likes on every post. We can do that tomorrow, but they're going to be from all over the world and they're never going to buy anything. Stop thinking about that. Like, how are we going to like work backwards to actually sell shit to the audience that's going to buy your stuff? Well, I don't know. This is how.
This is how you do it. You flip on a camera. There she is. Simone's watching. Hi, Simone. You missed our French fry conversation, but we're anxious to see your show come to life. Dave, Kevin, Judson, Pam, always good to see you. Carol, great to see you. Judson says he's guilty. He's guilty of. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Judson. You're in the financial industry, financial planning, I believe. Sorry, I got a very loud truck coming by here. Hang on, 5 seconds. We're doing it live. I'll tell you a quick story, Judson, about my pricing and how I've been able to kind of scale up. Is we have a certain economy here in Central New York. We have a certain economy in the southern tier. It's just like home prices. There is a certain level that you can charge in Central New York. I have very few clients now in Central New York. And as I've been able to kind of scale up my consulting business, I threw a consulting number to a new client in Hawaii. And I really didn't think about this well. I sent him out the standard rate of somebody that I would charge in Central New York or somebody I would charge in Florida. And I didn't think about it. I'm like, wait a minute. Afterwards, I was kicking myself because I sent it to him and we got on a call afterwards and he goes, that's it per month? He goes, that's the number per month? I go, yeah. He goes, that's it? And I got off that phone call and I'm like, you idiot. With, just like you said, with 10 minutes of research, I could have understood what the economy in Hawaii could handle and versus what I was charging people for in other parts of the country. I'm not saying I was trying to take advantage of the guy, but I'm here to enjoy my work, but I'm also here to make money and feed my family and do the things that I want to do. So the point I'm trying to make is guilty of non-relevant content. Well, that's a great part. He says he's guilty of non-relevant content. That's all in the past. You can now do relevant content from now on. Sorry, another truck. What's happening today? I'll get back to my story in a minute. But Judson, you're guilty of non-relevant content today and in the past. Today, you can open up a Zoom meeting, talk to one of your clients, and not get into specifics about their financial thing, but talk about strategy. Talk about that family of 4 that lives in Cazenovia and say, what are your goals? And then start to map out and document the process of how you're helping your clients. That's literally all you need to do. And that's going to be relevant content. But to close up my story, I learned so much from that. I'm like, you need to do more research as to where your clients live and where they want to do business, and then charge your product and service accordingly. That's been one of the biggest unlocks for me and one of the biggest ways I've been able to grow my business.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally everything. Because like when you break it down, that's just like what we tell our clients about their customers. It's you, that's your customer. So like just figuring out where they're at and where they're trying to go, and more importantly, what they're willing to do to get there. That's been one of the biggest things for us. And then you literally put something down on paper. It's like, hey, here's how I think we do it. Here's what I think it costs. If you're in, awesome. If you're not, no hard feelings. Like we went through it. I had a call with a potential new client last week, and they wanted to go like nationwide with like a new like e-commerce offering. They wanted to like, I gotta be careful. I'll just say they wanted to do it on a shoestring budget, to put it nicely. And
they were cheap. I'll say it. You can't say it. I'll say it. They're cheap. They want the $1,000 suit for $100. Go ahead.
And that's the thing. I don't even think it was so much cheap. I just think it's not being aware. Like they want to run an aggressive ad budget of, possibly pushing $200 a month. And you got to kind of politely say like, hey, we have different definitions of the word aggressive, And that's just one of those things. Like if you want to be a nationwide brand or a nationwide company, or you want to literally reach people across the country, sick. We can absolutely do that. But, stop and look at what you're saying and what your actions are. Like, are you going to sell stuff across the country for $200? Probably not, So I think that's kind of one of the real big things there. And it's why we've changed our entire approach to proposal writing, to strategy, to everything, where we literally lay that out. Because that was one of the big things when I had my freak out end of last year that we talked about. I wasn't doing good enough. I knew that and I understood that, but so many of our clients don't, because all this shit's so new. They have no clue what an aggressive ad budget is or what a non-aggressive ad budget. Like we were just talking about it last week. You always have to stop and ask people, because some people will tell you they have a very modest ad budget, which in their circle means they have $1,000 a month. Some people say we spend a ton and it's 200. So it's those, arbitrary words mean such different things to such different groups of people. So to really kind of lay that out, it just makes everything so much easier just to have that level of communication up front from a consultant and client perspective. And then what that in turn lets you do is it lets them have that with their customers. And it just has this whole chain of community. I think just the world would be a lot better place if we all just learned how to communicate a little bit better. But it's a different story for a different day. But 100%. I remember you called me after the Hawaii guy. That was tough. And it's like, should have added a 0.
I left a lot of money on the table. And that's the hard part, is that, as my personal brand is growing over these last couple of years, I mean, it's just, it's like I was on a call this week and my client said, I got this opportunity out of the blue, and they called me. I said, it wasn't out of the blue. I said, you've been doing the right things so that when somebody thought of your industry, they thought of you. It was not out of the blue. There's a reason. I'm not name dropping. I'm just giving an example. There's a reason Gary Vaynerchuk's guy called me 3 weeks ago. He goes, this is what I want to do. Can you help me? And I took the call on a Sunday morning. I'm like, you're darn right I can help you. It's taken 4 years of me jamming with Gary. for him to finally say my name out of his mouth as the guy to get that goal. I mean, talk about investing in branding. This is why we hammer this all the time, and I'm guilty of it, is documenting the process. You don't need to create good content. You just need to document what you are doing. That's literally all it was. I took that, we were on the call with our friends here this week, and the fact that I have glasses on right now, and the fact that I have my son did my hair, and the fact that, I hadn't shaved in 3 days, like for me, a year ago, that would have been terrifying. But what did I do? Hey, here's real life. Here's what's happening on my front porch right now. And I got huge engagement. But before, I never would have put that photo out. So Judson, there he is. There's the architect of the brand watching right now. I knew you were gonna chime in. You're the man. But that was the whole point. Do as I say, don't do as I do, but actually do as I do. Take that selfie. Talk about what you're working on. Talk about how hard it is to answer emails at 11:15 at night because you're doing this stupid homeschooling. Do all of those things. That's what makes you relatable, and that's why people buy from people, so that when they need financial advice, they're going to know that Judson went and got the lobster roll because he got the text. They're going to buy the 315 lid because Kobe's streaming on Twitch. He's doing his DJ sets on Twitch to 3 people, to 5 people, to 12 people, to 17 people. It grows and grows and grows.
Yeah, and I mean, that's we get feedback on all of that. Like we've, stuff's gotten busy like the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we haven't done as good a job, and we haven't been as intentional promoting the show after we edit it and upload it. And look at views. They were going like this, and now they're going like that. But okay, we get to fix and control all of that. Is Siobhan back with lobster rolls?
Lobster rolls are here.
Nice.
I don't know.
I just told the story about the first restaurant that texts me is going to get my business. So he texted me this morning, and I'm embarrassed to say my wife went and got it for me. So thank you.
Siobhan, you were the star of the show this morning.
You're the star of the show.
Fantastic. I'm glad I can be good at something.
Now that we've got Taven's hair anymore.
We don't have Taven's hair anymore. Taven's hair.
Right, so I don't know what's what.
I gotta show you this. You guys are gonna be jealous.
Oh, so I think. Oh, maybe I got 2 of the same thing and I didn't realize it.
But to Judson's point, I mean, literally, if I was him, I would sit down. Oh man. Oh. I'm gonna have to let it sit here for 10 minutes and not even touch it.
No, it'll be cold.
No, I'm not gonna eat it on the show. But that's all it is just that's the great part about it, is you get to control the message no matter what industry you're in. If you want to be the brand guy, you just keep talking about the 5 things that you're into, and then all of a sudden, after time, people start thinking about you as the thought leader in that industry. There is no, one is always greater than 0. Yes, some content is better than others, but you have to have those at bats by posting things in order to have the opportunity for somebody to scroll by. Just because, see, there you go. Judson, go get in line like now. It took her 45 minutes to get through the line for that lobster roll. But if you want to be the financial guy, if you want to be the Twitch DJ guy, if you want to be the 315 guy, just keep doing it over and over and over.
And that's one of the big things that I always used to tell kids in the class that I worked with, and we tell people at the incubator all the time. I know Eric's watching. It's one of the most overused phrases, find something you love, find something you're passionate about. Because you're going to have to do that for 4 years because you fucking love it, just to get to this point where maybe you're good enough to get to this level right now. You know what I mean? If you didn't love what you do for the last, and it goes well beyond 4 years with you, if you didn't love, you would have never made it through to the other side.
Yep.
Everybody talks themselves into thinking they're passionate about this or they're passionate about that or anything but you can't fake that. And if you don't have that for a number of reasons, you're just not getting through that. So I think that's the other big part, and it's so hard because that's the one part you can't teach. How do you teach somebody to find what they're passionate about or what makes them excited? you know, you can't. You just kind of got to find it organically. So I think that's one of the big things too, where it's so easy to just, you know, document and like to post every day and do all that. But like, if you don't have the talent and like you don't have like the excitement for what you do, it's going to be tough. Got it. We're going to be Instagram famous later.
Totally.
But
and that's the hard part. That's the hard part. You just said it. None of this guarantees success.
Oh yeah.
None of it. Here's the bottom line. You may not be good enough.
More trucks?
Sorry, this is going to be the truck episode. Sorry. That's the hard part. Number one, put out content. We're not the judge and jury about your content. I don't care what you put out. It's not the two of us. It's them. It's them that matter.
Well, and that's where we talk about like just like listening, right? Like if you made disco, but disco was awful and it tasted horrendous and nobody wanted to buy it, you know, you could tweet at Gary Vaynerchuk all day, but he's not pushing anybody your way.
Exactly right.
The fact that you worked your face off and it happened to be really good and you happen to have a ridiculously strong brand behind it and you were literally everywhere all the time, always for like 2.5 summers, then maybe you get a shot.
And that's all it guarantees. It doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't translate to sales. It doesn't guarantee any of those things. It gets you a spot at the table. And guess what? There's going to be 100 other people at the table, and one person gets put on. That's just the math. And I'm sorry, but this is the tough love part of the show. But if you have the audacity to sit down and want to charge for your time and charge people to talk on the phone and charge people to manage your finances and charge people to watch you DJ on Twitch and charge people to get into your SMS database or buy your wine or buy your this or buy your this, if you have the audacity to ask people for money for value like that, that's the leap you have to take. And that is a really big pill to swallow. And that's why, whatever the number is, 85% of small businesses fail, because the market is telling you you're not good enough. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. And if you and I stopped providing value tomorrow, we would be out of business and we'd be working for somebody else. That is the stone cold truth. But thankfully, we keep adapting and we keep pivoting and we keep trying to, that 20% that we're always trying, the fact that I don't even know, I'm going to text Billy later. I'm going to text him later and say, how did you do this? How did you figure out how to text people in your database that you were having the lobster roll truck today? I'm like, dude, that's awesome. But he spent the time. He can't open up his doors. He has a restaurant with, I don't know, 50 tables in it, 40 tables in it that he hasn't been able to fill since the middle of March. But he spent the time to try to keep his doors open. All right, rant over. Sorry.
No, but and guess what? I'm sure those lobster rolls are fucking delicious too.
Oh my gosh, they're so good.
Oh, if they were cold, soggy, not good lobster rolls, great. All that innovating was for nothing. That's how I always. It's literally just working that hard to get yourself an at bat. Not even a full game, just an at bat. And sometimes you're well prepared for that at bat, and you're gonna have a lot of success. Sometimes it's against a prime Clayton Kershaw, and you're gonna strike out on 3 pitches. It all commensurate with your talent. That is the variable. And that's where this part gets hard, man. Because we've been going through now. We have a client, well, I guess a former client at this point, where COVID hit him hard. And they went on pause with us, and they had a lot of tools in the toolbox to basically pick up the ball and run with it for a short amount of time.
Yep.
But we've known these guys for a long time, so I was honest with them, hey, the first 2 or 3 weeks are probably going to go really smooth, and then you're going to fall off a cliff. Not being negative, but that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right about 3.5 weeks in, guess what's happening? So they're going through all this thing, and they're going through all these questions and all this kind of stuff, and I'm just you can't just throw up whatever and assume it's going to work. Like, you just can't. You got to pay attention. Like, well, what should we do? I'm like, well, what was working? And then I'm like, you just go through this whole thing and it's like, fuck, that's why we hired you guys. I'm like, yeah, man. So it's just, it's a hard conversation to have, but it's a necessary one.
Judson's off. He says, good stuff. Thanks for always watching, man. I appreciate it. He's off to eat outside at Kaz Sports Bowl. There you go, man. I mean, that's good for you. Some of the best food in town, right? That's what we had for dinner last night. I had an incredible grilled chicken salad there. And I think that to close the loop on this is, if business is good for you and you don't need any, keep doing what you're doing. If you're having success, just keep doing what you're doing, but always keep half an eye on what potentially is happening next. Where, yes, you have your clients today, you have your customers today, but if you want more clients, and look at it from the other angle, if you're complaining and you don't have enough money coming in the door, you need to do something else. You need to do something different. If the flyers aren't working, or the TV ads aren't working, or the radio ads aren't working, and you're sitting there twiddling your thumb saying, man, I don't know why this stuff doesn't work, or you were sold a bill of goods by some salesperson, which happens all the time, and they're using some garbage metrics to try to get you in the door to say your ad dollars are going to buy X or whatever. Find somebody else that is doing well and ask them how they're doing it. People are very empathetic and they're willing to help other people. This isn't rocket science. Go find somebody in your field that's doing it well and ask them how they're being successful. And simply go, you don't have to be the creator of anything. You just need to be an early adopter. Get there before everybody else gets there. And you're gonna have a much higher chance for success.
Or just be an adopter, period.
Or just be an adopter.
Somebody told me they still not sure if Facebook works yesterday. That was an interesting conversation to have. But that's like the great thing is that one of you is going to be right at the end of the day. If you love radio that much, mazel tov. But if you want to keep paying $70 for 30 seconds every morning, okay.
Why do people do that?
It's easy.
Does it make them feel good?
Mm-hmm.
That they're marketing and advertising?
It gives them an excuse to not try other things. Because at that point, I'm a little jaded on this, so I gotta be careful how I word this. Basically, anybody that's spending what it costs to be on the 6 o'clock news or morning drive radio or the billboard on 81, spoiler alert, you're paying way too much. You are. I'm not saying those things don't work. I'm not saying nobody's watching or nobody's listening. There is, but the problem is the amount of people watching and listening has gone like this over the last 20 years, which is fine. Things change all the time. The issue is that the price for those things has gone like this. And, I'm no economist, but anytime you're continuing to pay the same amount or a tiny bit more to reach an increasingly shrinking number of people, at some point that's not going to work out for you. Especially when you could spend a tenth of that and really narrow it down to the exact group of people that in a lot of cases are actively searching to buy what you're selling right now.
If Facebook shut down tomorrow, the federal government shut them down tomorrow, including Instagram, what would you sell?
Whatever the next best thing is.
I'm asking you, what is that?
I would say for me, I think at that point, people are going to start to gravitate a little bit more towards traditional media. So I think that would make a lot of sense. And then for me, what I would do, I would say, okay, we have to figure out a way to make radio and TV work. I would go through and say, fine, but we're not going to take one commercial and run that. We're going to make 31 commercials. We're going to make one that's going to appeal to Ben. We're going to make one that's going to appeal to Siobhan. We're going to make one that's going to appeal to Taven, one that's going to appeal to Paige. And we're going to put them all on different networks and different shows at different times. And that's what we're going to do. Because like, that's like the one thing is like, attention is what it boils down to. Forget platform, forget media, forget industry. It's attention. When you sell advertising, you are selling attention straight up. So you just have to follow wherever that goes. And like, if that gravitates back towards radio, TV, sick, awesome. But I'm going to get your attention far differently than I'm going to get Paige's.
Yep.
Or Siobhan's, or mine, or my dad, or my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought that you're going to do that with the same piece of creative is just fucking ludicrous. Mm-hmm. So that's what you have to figure out. You know, and like that's what like I try to tell people now, and it's why our proposals are what they are. You know, and we talked about it on a call this morning, and like we're all guilty of it because like that's the other thing. You're never gonna do as much as you can. There's always gonna be more that you can do. There's always gonna be further that you can drill down. There's always gonna be more that you can tweak your creative that's going out there. And that's what's hard, I think, for a lot of people is that there is no finish line there. Whereas before, if you ran one radio commercial, one TV spot, and an ad in the newspaper or the church bulletin, that was diversified marketing because you were on 3 different platforms.
Yep. One
commercial over and over and over. That's it. Whereas, but that was easy because like people, I don't want to be harsh, but I think people are they just don't want to work at stuff like that. They want to do just enough to say they did it and then move on. And if they get business from it, it just seems like a bonus. Because like coming from advertising sales, all of your training, like probably 60% of it is how do you convince your client that that advertising was good, even though it didn't do anything. So I think people just for the longest time, that's how they were programmed to think and judge and hold their advertising accountable. So it feels fine. Whereas now it's like, oh, you can invest a lot more time and energy up front into stuff that's actually gonna, stay with me, make you money on the back end of it. But just the thought of trying to digest that and understand it and put in the time to do it is just exhausting. Mainly when we just sat here and told them, hey, there's a good chance that you're gonna do this wrong and you're not good enough to do it effectively.
Right.
So rather than tackle that hill, it's like, I'll just keep limping along with this same radio sponsorship that I've been doing for 13 years because my rep gives me tickets to the Dick's Open.
Let's do this. I know you have a hard stop. Let's do last call for questions on Instagram, Facebook Live. Thanks again, Maria. Thanks for joining. Greg, Elaine, Eric, our buddy. Thanks for always joining us. So did we decide what number episode is this 19 or 20? Do we know?
18.
18. That's right, because we had to skip last week. So what I'd like to do, and I didn't even talk to you about this before the show. I think it's time. I want your opinion. This is not a statement. I think it's time to start documenting what we do with this show. Mm-hmm. I think it's time because you and we do this mostly on a weekly basis, but it's become apparent to me, I'm only speaking for myself, that I'm still not doing anything with the content. I'm not, which means it's not high on my priority list. It doesn't mean I don't have the time. It does not mean that. It means it's not high enough on my priority list. So I'm assuming the same for you because we are very lucky to have as much work as we want to have right now. But I think part of the value of this show long-term for people is laying down the groundwork of having this discussion about personal branding, about marketing, about small business. We want to continue to translate our personal brand into being the thought leaders of personal branding, marketing, small business in the Southern Tier, Central New York, all these things. What I'd like to do is show people the tools that we would use and the platforms that we would use to grow our co-branded thing and show some of the metrics about why this is a good idea. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that what would be really cool is if we literally do everything that we just said, like come up, like, you know, sit down, have a real intentional, thoughtful discussion on, okay, what do we want this to do? And then work backwards off of that, you know, and like, just, we'll use it as a straight up case study. You know,
Yep.
I think I was just thinking about it the other day. Like, it's laughable how inactive our marketing is for our marketing agency. Embarrassing. Like, embarrassing. You know, fortunately, it's that way for good reasons. You know, just because, like you said, it hasn't been high enough. Hang on. Hey, Dad.
Hey, what's up?
I'm in the middle of a show right now. You're live on Facebook.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in. Do you have a question for the show?
A question for the show, real quick.
I do not.
Can you tell everybody that I'm your favorite of your three sons, at least?
Hey! I have three sons. They're all beautiful people. I do not have a favorite because I love them all dearly. Thank you, guys.
All right, good talk. I'll call you after.
Bye.
Good talk, man. By the way, I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this. This is incredible.
I'll be honest with you, I'm shocked that you made it that long.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible.
But no, so I think that's what we should do. We have 20 episodes. So like, we literally, if you want to be honest, we have a full calendar day's worth of content if we just laid it out right now. We do. So I say we do that. I say we could literally make the show, you know, I would even venture to say, like, doing a live in-person show, if we could do it safely and legally, would be cool. And like, literally just brainstorm it in real time and just come up with a plan and decide exactly what we want to do, how we want to do it, and we just go with it in real life, you know? I think that would be really cool to do.
Is that something you want to do as a show? I mean, obviously, as a show, a live show, and you want to whiteboard this thing? Is that what you're thinking?
That's what I think that would be really cool.
Okay.
Just straight up as transparent as possible and just go. Because I think that what that's going to do, I think it'll create a lot of value for the show. B, selfishly, I think it'll be really great for me and you, talking to the whole people buy from people thing, where if people can watch the kind of things that we come up with for this, they're gonna be like, oh shit, imagine what they could do for us.
Yep.
And I just think that it's one of those things that it's just gonna add, you know, more gasoline to this fire that it's already burning. And so I think that would be awesome.
Well, so let's do that. Let's see if we can see if we can pull that off, like as early as next week. Let's just see if we can do that. And then I think we can almost turn this into a little game, in that the reason I like doing this format is because we hold each other accountable.
Yep.
I think you and I both need that when it comes to our own personal stuff, because to me, I'm not going to speak for you. For me, it still feels selfish sometimes about talking about our own stuff. But this show has helped me in that feeling where it doesn't feel as selfish, because it's the right thing to do. And I think that's the kind of the hurdle that I need to get over. But I think if it's a content calendar, a weekly or daily or monthly, whatever you want to do, content calendar, we'll just show the checklist. We'll say, hey, you didn't post on YouTube this week. Like, WTF? like what's happening? Like, you didn't uphold your part of the bargain. So, and I think that's where we could show people in real time the metrics that we're seeing and the results that we're seeing. And then quite honestly, we can talk about the opportunities as they come forth, because they're already happening. As the opportunities come forth, we can say, because we did 20 shows, because we did Instagram, IGTV, because we did Instagram stories, because we did YouTube, because we did this, here are the metrics behind it. We'll show the dashboard, not only show the dashboard, but say, here are not the exact dollars, but we can say we folded up and put dollars in our pocket. It's just it's the whole thing. This is incredible.
I mean, after the way we hyped it up, it better be.
It's incredible.
I'm 1,000,000% in. I think that would be probably one of the smartest things we ever did.
Okay. So next week, I don't know if it's Friday, check your schedule, and then we'll do this thing live. It'll either be here or there or somewhere in between or whatever. I don't care.
Just keep in mind that next Friday is the beginning of a holiday weekend, so it might be.
Oh, so we probably should do it earlier in the week then. Maybe we'll move the show up to Wednesday next week.
not opposed.
There you go. There you go. All right, cool. Well, let's do this. I know you got to run. Thank you, Kristen, Bob, Peter. Thanks for checking in at the end of the show. Very, very appreciative. All right, so we're going to go live next week. We're going to go earlier in the week. We don't know what it is, but we'll put it on social. And we're going to start looking to really pour gasoline on this thing and show you guys in real time what we do with our own personal content. And, you know, having a piece of pillar content like this for 20 shows, there's 20 hours, probably even more than that, 24 hours worth of content now that we have. What are we going to do about it? How we're going to post it, and how you guys can do the same, more importantly. So that is it for now. Everybody have an awesome weekend, and we will see you next week.
See you.